And fine, let's start, and let's start with the concepts of object oriented programming today, because these are very important to learn Selenium, right? So I will create a new Java project, okay, and I will name it day2, right? And okay, there's a question being asked, uh, do to install Selenium, do we need to install Selenium Java 2.53? No, the source is not required. Okay, if you talk about the jar files for Selenium, then yesterday I had talked about the jar files. Uh, Hold on. This sources jar is actually not required. Okay, you can actually do without it as well. That's not a problem. Okay, so fine. Okay, now in day2 project, right, first of all I will add all the jar files for Selenium. Right, and I am going to make a new class known as um, for example mobile phone. Yes, not under the lib folder, you just have to include them over here in Eclipse. That's it. Lib folder and all work we do when we are doing the development work in Java. You are not doing development work in Java. Okay, so I have created this class known as mobile phone. No, I have not kept the main function in it. Okay, right. So what are the features of a mobile phone? Right. Uh, the features of a mobile phone are that you can, for example, public string name of the mobile phone, then say public int price of the phone, right? Then guys, please keep yourself on mute because we are recording this session and lot of noise can come in the background. Okay, then public void call, a function can be there, okay, in which you can type that calling from mobile. So this is one function, okay, and these are two variables in the class, name and price. Alright, now in case I create a new client file, uh, for example new class known as user. Fine, so what we can do is that in this we can have the main function and we create something known as creating the object of the class mobile phone. We'll create an object of the class mobile phone. Now how do you create the object? You write new mobile phone uh, right, this is known as creating the object of the class, right? uh, when you write like this, okay, right, what happens is that in the memory, the object of the mobile phone class is made. Okay, in that object you have all the properties: name, price, and also the call function. Okay, right. So all these three properties are there in this particular class, right? Sorry, in this particular memory area, you can say this is a memory area which is allocated, right? But no, you cannot access this object. To access this object, you need to have object reference. Okay, by object reference, I mean you have to write mobile phone, say m1 equals to new mobile phone. So what will happen is that in the memory now, m1 will be created. It will point towards this particular object. With m1 you can access or change the state of the object. Okay, m1 is a reference. This is different than object. This is an object. This is the object reference. Okay, right. Sorry. You can write m1 dot name. You can access the properties. Say nexus. m1 dot price, and you can write over here as anything like 200, something like this. Okay, then you can call the call function m1 dot call. The call function prints that calling from mobile, and if I write the name of the mobile, then it will print the corresponding name, that calling from mobile nexus. Okay, right. So this is how, okay, this is how object and object references they work. I can create another object, say m2, and I can write m2 dot name is iPhone 6. Okay, fine. So what happens is that uh, with m2 I can access the properties of this object. So every object will have a different memory area. Okay, m2 will be pointing towards this object. Similarly, you can create as many objects you want. Okay, it is up to you. Right, it is completely up to you. The variables and the properties in the class are the same, but by uh, creating different objects of that class, you can create a kind of virtual thing that every object will have its own set of properties for that particular class. Okay, so if I write over here m1 dot name, m2 dot name, and m3 dot name. Okay, I just put a demarcating line, and if I run this, it will print the corresponding name. Okay, right. Now what if I write like this, m2 equals to m3. So after writing this, if I print the same thing, what does this mean, m2 equals to m3? This means that, okay, this was m1, m2, and uh, just a minute. Yeah, this was M1, M2 and this was M3. Okay, right, this was M3. Right, so M1 was Nexus, M2 was iPhone name. Right, so when you write M2 equals to M3, this means that M2 will no longer point here. Okay, it will start pointing towards the location where M3 is pointing. So this object, Samsung object, will have two references, okay, pointing towards it. Okay, right. So what you can do is that you can go here and if you actually print this, whatever I have written, you will actually see Samsung Note printing two times because M2 and M3 are pointing towards the same object. If any one of them changes the property of the object, for example M2.name is, M2 changes the name of the mobile phone, right? Instead of Samsung Note, it writes say uh, Sony. Okay, if you print the name again, okay, if you print it, then for both of them it will print Sony because one object reference has changed the state of the object, the other one will get the latest state back. Okay, so this is about objects, how they are made. Alright, fine. In Selenium also we make objects, but we make objects of inbuilt classes. For example, yesterday I had made the object of an inbuilt class known as Firefox driver. If you create the object of this inbuilt class in Selenium Firefox driver and run it, what happens is that a blank Firefox window opens up. Here it is. You see that? Right. So, just a minute. So many Firefox browsers have opened unnecessarily. Just a minute guys, just hold on. Okay, fine. So a blank Firefox opens up. With F, if you write F dot, you will see so many functions available which you can fire on the Firefox browser. For example, there is one of the functions known as get. In this, you fire http yahoo.com. Writing the protocol is very important in case of Selenium. Okay, because in case of QTP you can ignore the protocol, but in case of Selenium you have to write the protocol, and if you run this program, you see that you reach the home page of the Yahoo website. Okay, right. So now similarly for other browsers as well, you will make objects and you will work with them. Everything is inbuilt inside Selenium. You don't have to actually, it's not a rocket science where you have to invent things or something. Everything is inbuilt. You need to have these concepts clear that what happens when you create the object. Okay, so this was my phone, mobile phone, this was my class, and these were the properties of the class. Now this name is a non-static global variable. We call it a non-static global variable. This is also a non-static global variable. This function is known as a non-static function. Now coming over to static. What is static? When you write the main function, you write public static void main. Okay, like for example, I have a variable over here. Fine, I have a variable like uh, public int number of batteries. Okay, now all the mobile phones have got one battery. Okay, so if you go to the class over here and you initiate every object, you write m1 dot number of batteries equals to 1. Similarly over here you also write m2 dot number of batteries equals to 1. Right, and m3 also equals to 1. Now this doesn't make sense. That for every object you are keeping number of batteries as 1, you know that always it's going to be 1. So what you do is that you make this variable static. What happens is that static will actually go and reside. These were the three objects, right? Okay, static will go and reside at a memory location over here. Okay, number of batteries, right, and this memory location would be common for all the objects. Okay, right, so this, if you keep number of batteries as static, you take it out of the object actually and keep it somewhere at a common location in the memory. Right, and that's why you see you get these yellow warnings over here that please don't initiate this variable like this. It's not an error, but it's a warning to you. So static cannot be initialized like this with the help of object because we have moved it outside the object. To initiate the static stuff, you just have to write the name of the class followed by dot. Okay, the name of the class followed by a dot, and you will get all the static variables of that class. I'll write number of batteries equals to 1. So when I write like this, for all the mobile phones, the number of batteries will become 1. Okay, so as far as your understanding is concerned in Selenium, just remember that static is something which is common for all the objects. Right? Okay, right. Now the thing is, uh, how do you use static in Selenium and all? We will talk about that. Okay, we'll talk about that. But let us go step by step. Now I talked about this driver over here, Firefox driver. Fine. And I told you that you create the object of this driver. Fine. And you can use this non-static functions inside it. Right. Now what you can do is that you can write over here Firefox driver dot. So when you write the name of the class dot, you get many non-static features of the class as well, which we will be using. Okay, right. So just be with me now for some time. Okay, now let me go to the documentation of Selenium. Oh, hold on. Right. Let me write over here right? Over here you go to the download section, and in the download section you go to the Java doc over here. Fine. So when you go to the Java doc, you will get this documentation, obviously, right? And over here, hold on, I'm going to talk about different drivers in Selenium. Hold on. Now these are the different driver classes in Selenium. Okay, as the name suggests, Chrome driver, it is for Chrome, Edge driver is for Edge. Okay, event firing WebDriver not used that much these days. Okay, it is used to fire complex gestures like emulating moving mouse and all, but that can be done with actions class as well. So we don't use this one that much. Okay, Firefox driver is for Firefox. So every browser has a driver class. Remote WebDriver is actually used in case of Selenium GRID. Okay, if you are using Selenium GRID and if you want to run the test cases parallelly, over there we will actually use a remote WebDriver. We are going to study this one as well. Okay, Opera driver and Safari driver, as far as my understanding goes, they are not very stable. There are a lot of problems and flaws with these drivers. Okay, and look, simple things like pop-up management, all that stuff, okay, they don't work properly on these drivers. Okay, so let's study one driver at a time. I just told you about Firefox driver. Similarly, you can have the Chrome driver. You can create the object of Chrome driver, right? That is Chrome driver cd equals to new Chrome driver. Okay, and you can import it. Fine, I'll comment these two lines because they'll open Firefox unnecessarily, and when you run that you will get this error that the path to the driver executable. When you get an exception like this, don't worry. Okay, read it what it is. Must be set by the property this. Okay, basically we have to set a system property over here. In case of a Chrome driver, it is mandatory. Okay, if you go to the Selenium website and go to the download section, you will see that third-party drivers, bindings and plugins. You have to download a, you can say, plugin for Google Chrome driver. Okay, click on this link, go to the latest release and click on the link, this one again. You'll reach here. Download the zip file for your particular PC, whatever PC you have. In case you have got 64-bit machine, this will also work. 32-bit will work. It's not a problem. Fine. And I have it over here, chromedriver.exe. Okay, it's an exe file. Don't run it. You will not achieve anything by running it. Okay, you copy the path where this exe is lying. Go to the program and write the command system.set property, okay, webdriver.chrome.driver, and give the path to the Chrome driver exe. In my PC it is in F drive, drivers and Chrome driver.exe. Okay, right, you have to give / in Java. Make sure you give the correct path. System is an inbuilt class inside Java. It's an inbuilt class, and set property is a static function. See that set property is a static function in that particular class. So you can call it directly with the name of the class, because I told you static members of the class can be called with the name directly. Okay, so you set a system property WebDriver.Chrome.driver. Now these wordings have to be correct. Everything has to be in lower case. Java is a case sensitive language. I've seen people making mistakes that they keep W for WebDriver capital or something. Okay, it will not work. Right, now if I run this program, you will see that Chrome will work. Okay, Chrome will open up. Fine. And you have to write over here Chrome driver dot get say http yahoo.com. Fine. So when you run this program, Chrome will actually open and navigate to yahoo.com. Okay. So this is about Chrome driver. You have to set the system property in case of a Chrome driver. Now for Mac 64-bit work for the yes, this will work. You have to download corresponding plugin. You can download the 32-bit plugin. It works in the 64-bit machine as well. Okay. Now let's talk about the next driver, which is Internet Explorer driver. Okay, for Mac 64-bit you can download this one, 32-bit will work. Okay, now in case of a Chrome iDriver, okay, you have this class known as Internet Explorer driver. You create the object of this class, Internet Explorer driver I equals to new Internet Explorer. So everything is inbuilt. You have to just create the class objects of those classes, and when you run it you will get an error similar to Chrome driver, because in case of iDriver also there is an exe file which you need to download. Okay, right. Go to the Selenium website. Okay.